what are some of the things that you've taken away to apply to yourself that you would also give to the audience that would help them?
Everyone puts the cap on themselves of what they believe they can do. At the end of the day, it's a fake cap. Do you think David Goggins woke up when he was like 10 and all of a sudden he's going to run 100 miles? No. He eventually was able to remove that ceiling, that cap. Like, it's all a belief. It's all a mindset.
But we got down to where it was 3 days left and you needed 50 grand.
It was less than 3 days. It was like 56 hours and I needed literally 50 grand.
Yeah,
like 56
so $50,000 in 50 hours. How do you do it? Boom. Evan Brown, the man, the myth, the legend. We are in here. Shout out Content HQ, ripping a pod. Dude, why are we here, man? What's up?
Dude, what's going on? We are here because this guy decided to sell me into a Miami trip last weekend. But no, it's been a great experience so far. We met about a month ago at a run club in Dallas when you flew out. And the first time I ever met this guy, literally I'm running and I'm not a runner at all. He starts selling me into a marathon. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to run a marathon. I don't want to run a marathon, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, on a scale from 1 to 10, where are you at? And I'm like, I don't know, like a 6. And he's like, why not a 2? And I'm like, this guy's in sales. And then that's pretty much how it started.
Yeah, man. So to give everybody some context, I was actually in Dallas with one of my good friends, Pierce, and he hosts a run club called Run with Christ. And they're doing a bunch of awesome stuff out there. And I was just running, and I came up on my good buddy Tony Lee and yourself. And then I just heard something about running and whether or not you could run a half marathon or something. And I was like, okay, like, have you ever thought about running a marathon? And so we start getting into like battling limiting beliefs and stuff. And long story short, we hit it off. And then Evan asked me about, sales management and closing and things like that. I come to find out he's a top closer at his offer. And I've been in the high ticket sales space for a couple years. So we just hit it off. And then you had texted me asking me like, hey, do you mind if we jump on a Zoom call? I'd love to just understand like what you think I should do next as far as my trajectory goes. And when we got on the call, you were like, yo, man, so I'm making 15 grand a month. I'm thinking about where do I go next and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you could be making like 20, 25 grand a month with the offer that you have, with the skill set that you have. And I could just tell you had that raw, like natural ability. And so for context, I am a sales manager for an offer called the Product Career Accelerator. And that's like pretty much my main thing. But I really am passionate about helping closers. And I never wanted to pull the trigger and get into coaching and like start my own cohort or course because I hadn't actually done it. I coach reps as a manager and, we're building an actual company. And I was like, do I want to get into coaching? And so when you told me, hey, I'm trying to hit a record month, I was like, let me see if I can just help you and I'll do it for free. The only thing I'm going to ask is that you just listen to every single word I say. And if you execute on what I tell you to do, you will verifiably make a lot more money. And so we just started working together and I was like, we're going to put a plan together. I think it was May 20th.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, I want to hit this crazy goal. I'm pacing 15 grand right now. If I get to 25K, like something magic's going to happen. And I was like, perfect. So then we just started working together. And I don't really think I even gave you any formalized like actual sales training. It was just more about like conviction and execution and utilizing the time on your calendar to do revenue generating activities.
Yeah, there was like, because I've been closing for 3.5, 4 years now. And the offer that I'm on it's like marketing services. So it's more B2B. But essentially when I met Tristan, I'm like, yo, like I'm doing well. And I had a good couple first weeks. And that was right when I started cracking one calls on our offer. Is before the month of May, there was like no one call closes. Every deal is in the follow-up, which is like good because that means you can squeeze your pipeline, but it's like we're leaving a lot of money on the table. So I started to figure out this one call thing and like really dive into like the identity, the effect of the pain, like all that type of stuff that's just like higher level closing stuff. I'm like, all right, I figured that out, but I feel like there's more. And then when I met him, he's like, dude, there's 8 deals in your pipeline. And he didn't even, like we didn't ever talk about like sales strategies, on call. It was literally just like,
objection handling.
Nothing like that. It was like, literally just follow this SOP, squeeze your pipeline, send these emails, these texts, and have so much conviction that you can not only close these people, but this is the best decision for them. And I ended up, blowing by that record. Like it wasn't even close.
Yeah, so I'd love to walk people through what happened, how it happened, and like the divide between how much of it was mindset and belief and how much of it was actually practical.
Yeah.
So to give everybody context, we had 10 days to go, and he sent me a screenshot of his whiteboard, which if you're a real gangster, winner, closer, you've got a whiteboard on your bedroom or your living room or wherever you take calls.
We'll put it up on the screen, the whiteboard of like how much to go, how much cash.
Yeah, throw it up. And so it was like 100 and some odd thousand in 10 days, which in hindsight isn't insane, but we got down to where it was 3 days left and you needed 50 grand.
It was less than 3 days. It was like 56 hours, and I needed literally 50 grand in like 56 hours.
So $50,000 in 50 hours. How do you do it? So to give everybody some context, I have been closing for the last 3 years as well. I started in the construction industry. Me and my friends built a construction company and ran that up, and then made a bunch of mistakes, and then it got ran down. And then I jumped into the online remote high ticket space, bounced around a couple offers that weren't necessarily the right fit for me for multiple reasons. And then I landed on an offer called the Premium Ghostwriting Academy with Dickie Bush and Nicholas Cole. And that's really where I got to sharpen my skills and evolve in a way that allowed me to just dominate. And so I was the top rep for month over month for 22 months in a row. And the reason that I was able to do that is because I was always very clear on my data, my projections, and what needed to happen in order to hit those projections. And something that I learned from Cole Gordon was like, if you have projections, let's say you're trying to do 28 deals in a month, right? Well, that basically means you need to do 7 deals in a week, a deal for every day, or 1 point whatever for every 5 calendar days, whatever. But at the end of the week, if you're not at your projections, you don't just say, well, I don't have enough calls or whatever, right? A lot of these new reps are like super privileged and they don't understand like you have to take it into your own hands, right? The founder's not always going to have the best marketing dialed in on every single week, fucking hot leads coming in like every day. So you have to take it upon yourself to do so. And so I built a skill of understanding the stakes and then understanding what actions need to happen in order to make the projections reality. And that's kind of what I coached you through, really, because you didn't have a lot of offers, you didn't have a lot of live calls, and that wasn't going to be sufficient if you just kind of let the dice fall. And so when I was on the ghostwriting offer for the last 2 years and I left in March to go all in on management, I would do this kind of like Michael Jordan, like flu game thing at the end of the month. And if you look at my stats on a graph, the first 2 weeks of the month are just like mid, like, good closing rate, but not like spectacular, good cash collected, but not spectacular. But then it doubles on the 3rd week and it triples on the 4th week. And so, or something to that effect. And so I always have this like end of the month mindset. And what I've built over time is like this thing that I call the or die mindset. And it's like, what would you need to do to hit your goal? How much would you need to raise the stakes? And so the typical framework that I think through is something along the lines of, hey, if you had to collect $50,000 in 3 days or you're literally dead, what would you do? And now it becomes, okay, well, I can't fail. That's not even an option, right? So it's just completely written off. And you delete all the beliefs because you just give yourself no choice. And Alex Hormozy says, like, you'd be amazed at what you can achieve if you give yourself no choice or if you have no choice, right?
Oh, 100%.
But you texted me the exact best question, which is, yo, I need to collect 50 grand in 3 days. Like, what would you do if you needed to do that? Or else you go to jail or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you just make that up with actions. And basically what I walked through for everybody that's listening, if you want to do this for your own offer, like, I'm happy to give you the playbook. I essentially had Evan go through his entire pipeline of every single person that he talked to and send them an email that said something along the lines of, hey, I know that we can help you. I am so confident that we can demonstrate amazing value for you. What would need to happen in order for us to do this sooner rather than later? And then there's a couple different angles, and it's really just like a conviction-based email. There's no reframes. There's no fancy Jedi mind tricks. It's just, hey, I know in my soul and in my bones that we can help you. What needs to happen in order for us to make that a reality? Because you told me this challenge and this pain, and then you told me that you wanted to get to this goal by this time. I want to bring this to life for you. Let's get on a call. Let's make it happen. P.S. I'm happy to make it flexible. I've got some options. I'm pulling some strings. And you can even just tell them the truth. Like, hey, I've got a sales competition coming up. And if I crack this amount of enrollments by the end of the month, I actually get a selfish like prize. And I can like take my mom out to dinner or take my boys out or whatever. And you actually make it about them and you tell them selfishly why you're trying to pull the strings. And so all I had him do was do that. Email, text, and then voice note to every single lead in the pipeline, in the CRM. Now we'll walk through kind of like what you did and then how that was a little bit different than what was supposed to happen and then how we brought it back up. Whenever I told you to do that, like, what were you thinking through? Obviously you just kind of did it, but what was your thought process when I was instructing you on doing that?
Yeah, well, it was more of just like, because you think about any sales training that's especially now like the high ticket space, it's all like, and not that any of it's like bad, a lot of it is valuable, but it's like objection handling and like just getting like crazy, like, like you said, Jedi mind tricks almost. And not that it's inherently bad, it works for a reason. But at the same time, I think there's so much value, especially in 2025 when every person in every industry has been on sales calls before. They get the game. It's like, not that it doesn't work. It's that I think people see a lot more value when you truly feel like them buying is the best decision for them. Like, you know, for a fact, them moving forward is going to put them in a better spot than if they do nothing. And it's like, I even use that on my calls now of like, I get to see the two types of people, the one that does and the one that doesn't. And the one that does ends up getting where they want, and the one that doesn't stays in the same spot. And I think all the follow-up, every like tactic, email, whatever it may be, like, one is just action. I sent out what, almost 100 emails to all my pipeline from the past like 3.5, 4 months. And that was a whole nother thing. I was like, I'm gonna send it out to good people. And you're like, no. Don't just send it to good people. Send it to every single person. That ended up getting me another 2 deals. So that's a whole nother thing. But sending out 100 emails, whatever it was, and then I only got 3 responses, but then ended up getting a deal out of it. So it's like, you have to just do the inputs required, that or die mindset. It's just, before you really instilled it into me, it was almost like kind of half in my brain. I never really put it together of like, all right, well, how can I implement this? Like, I'd send follow-ups, but I was very much lazy with it. I wasn't diligent about it.
Sure.
And it's like, when you gave me the conviction that it will work, I'm like, you know what? I met this random guy at a run club. I'm just going to trust him, like, and just see what happens. And literally, I mean, made me an extra 12 grand, like, just last month. So it's like, without doing the inputs required, you're never going to get the output. And there's so much of a difference between a B plus, even an A minus, and then an A tier player. It's like, I always consider myself like an A player before I met you. And I'm like, I was not. Like, you gave me the confidence that I actually can consistently be at that level, 100%.
And what's the saying? It's like, you know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
It's cliche, but it's so true.
So true.
Ultimately, like, how long do you think it took to send those 100 emails? An hour? 2 hours?
Yeah, maybe 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 hours, you're not going to get a deal immediately.
No.
It's not like you're taking someone's payment on the call,
Yeah.
right? But that 2 hours will turn into 2 deals. And guess what? What's your ticket price? 15,000?
15K.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you made $3,000 in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Basically. Right. And so a lot of people, they don't understand that you have to kind of delay the gratification between the emails and the outbound and the efforts. That's another thing where people that are doing this delayed gratification, where they're calling out or they're doing a little bit longer of a sales cycle, they don't actually hit the dopamine that gets them to reinforce that behavior. But I want to remind everybody, if you simply just, I was like, hey, would it be insane if we send emails to the leads? It's like, have you tried
calling the leads? have you guys tried doing that?
Have you tried texting the leads?
have you done that before? No, it's the blow-up effect. The owner of my offer, his name's Nick, one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And I'll get into how I met him. This goes along with the story, but he talks about it all the time. It's the blow-up effect. It's like the stuff you do now, like whether that's follow-up, it's like, how long can you wait from the actions you take now until you get that positive feedback loop?
Oh yeah.
Like, the longer you can delay the gratification and the more pain you're willing to go through is directly correlated with how successful you'll be, whether that's sales, whether that's just running the business in general, whether that's anything. It's like, you do something today, if you're willing to wait a year and you're willing to go through a ton of pain for a year until you get that positive feedback loop, you're going to be so much further ahead than everyone else that needs the objection handle reset and the call right there and the payment. You're going to be so much further ahead than the guy that sends a couple emails and, oh, it didn't work, I'm just going to quit. It's like, I did a training on my team with this, and they're like, dude, I sent out 25 emails. And I'm like,
25?
I'm like, dude, I sent out 100 and I got 2 responses. And it's like, it's not about the ratio, it's not about the numbers. It's like, if you did nothing, you would have got nothing. But the fact that I did 100, even though I got 1 deal, that's an extra $1,500 in my pocket.
And it's like the Hormozy thing where he said he sent out flyers for his gym and he sent out like 500 and he's like, dude, we test with 5,000 a day.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, once you start to understand like what volume looks like when I was hitting my pipeline in the prime of my offer, I had 1,000 leads. And I did it so long, and then I just created an automation to be able to do it faster. And one thing before I forget, if you're a sales rep and you're not learning copywriting and like a little bit of like email marketing and like throwing some sauce in there, which obviously we have Claude and ChatGPT, by the way. And if you're not learning that, then you're definitely falling behind. Even the little amount of effort that it takes to just write a couple emails and send it and just put it on your calendar for like a Wednesday morning, you just do it every Wednesday religiously, it's gonna print, dude. And it takes longer. And even if you get 100 emails to 1 response, then guess what? You just made that $1,500. And then that's when the skill set becomes, Hormozy talks about going from more to better to new. Everybody wants to jump to new. and then they want to jump to better. But how about have you tried doing more?
Yeah,
right?
It's
and
like,
so
I think it's just a standard. We talked about this in the car. It's the standard you hold yourself to. Like, especially in sales, it's like most people don't, especially in the high ticket space, most people work like 5 hours a day, bro. Like, and it's like, I don't say it's natural. It's so easy to be like, oh, I have a no-show, I'm just going to eat lunch. Or, oh, I have a no-show, I'm just going to like scroll, whatever. Like, it's so easy to do that. And it's like, I've been in that seat. But it's like when you see the other side, you realize that even when you work 10 hours a day, I mean, you're getting not just double the amount of output because you're using every single minute to your advantage. It's a completely different ballgame.
Sure.
And it's just going back to what you said of like, if you hold yourself to a higher standard than everyone else around you, that's like how you show up. That's how you prepare. That's how you come across in your calls, off the calls, on the follow-ups.
Yep.
That plays along with all the tactics that, you know, we've been talking about.
Yeah, and I think just to contextualize it and, well, really more so crystallize it for the audience, like it all comes from a few different beliefs, which is, number one, you have to have conviction on what you're selling. You have to have conviction on yourself.
That's true. The product has to be good enough where you're not, yeah.
You have to have conviction in the person. That's a big one. And then you have to be undeniable with the actions. And a lot of people, they don't really know what hard work even looks like. And I'm not going to say that that's their fault, because maybe they just haven't been shown what it actually looks like. And until you see volume, you know, when you meet somebody and you're just like, oh, wow. And then your brain starts to expand. You're like, oh crap, like this guy's a gangster. Like he's going hard. I could totally go harder, you know? And so I think to summarize what we did, I basically just had Evan reach out to every single person he's ever talked to, demonstrate conviction through an email, and then a text message, and then a voice note, which, by the way, 3 touch points. Would you think it would increase the likelihood that they respond? Yes. And
Minimum,
then a little bit of like PS, copywriting, scarcity, like kind of not like prices going up, but like, hey, I've got a couple of things I could do for you if we do it before the end of the month. Yeah, pull some strings, which I can drop a whole training on. I pulled some strings. But he put the effort in. He got a bunch of responses. And then it didn't get him to where he needed to be the timeline that I think you wanted it to. So let's say we were at 7 days before the end of the month and we got to 5 or 4, and you sent me something like, yeah, man, everything's falling apart. Like I just had these 2 follow-up deals and they just said no and it's just falling apart. And I was like, okay, well, let's breathe and let's reset our state and let's get back into it, because, you know, if you get punched, it doesn't mean you get knocked out. And then we kept going another day or 2, effort, showing up on every single live call, getting follow-ups booked, reaching out to every single person ever. And then I think the 3 days before or 2 days before, you're like, hey, I don't think 25K is in the thing. And you had 3 different levels of like, I don't know if I can actually do this. I really don't know if I can actually do this. And then the last one was like, the stove is burnt and I'm turning the burner down. And I was like, totally hear you there, man. Let's jump on a call. And that's when I essentially just held you accountable to the standard, like you mentioned. And by the way, you're a self-starter. You've got high integrity. You've got high discipline. But a lot of people, especially those who don't understand coaching, like LeBron James has a coach.
Tiger Woods has a coach.
Yeah. So guess what? Welcome to the club, man. Winners win. And top performers in any industry, in any domain, need coaches to be held accountable, to inspire them to push further, and just to have an outside, not third person, but just like another set of eyes.
Yeah,
right.
Another set of eyes.
And so I basically just said, hey, man, remember you said you wanted to do 25 grand a month? We don't quit here. We do not limp through the finish line, which is something that Dickie coached me on again and again and again. And I just built that into my philosophy and how I operated, especially at the end of the month. And so you said, hey, the stove's turning down. I can't do it. And I was like, cool, man, let's jump on a call. All I did was remind you of your goal, and then we personalize it even more. And if you're okay with sharing, we could talk about John, your boy. So I was like, hey, man, let's say you make 25 grand. Who would that directly impact outside of yourself financially, that you could put someone in a better position, buy them something nice, do something for them specifically financially? Who comes to mind? You're like, yeah, my boy John. And I was like, perfect. Tell me about John. He's like, yeah, he likes golf. Me and him golf all the time, this and that. And I was like, okay, what would you do if we hit this goal and we did something nice for John? And you're like, we could go golfing at this awesome, golf course or whatever. And I'm like, perfect. Okay. So whenever you don't want to hit that phone and you don't want to send these emails and you think for a second that your mind's starting to go downwards, just remind yourself that if you stick with this and you do the actions and you just become undeniable and you don't negotiate, you're going to change John's life for the better, right? And it could be John, Jane, Susie, doesn't matter. Find someone else outside of yourself. This is what Johnny Mao was talking about yesterday when we were at the conference, the what, why, and the how. And this document, I do it with all my sales reps. we can get into a whole nother conversation about
it's
this.
the 1.0, 2.0.
Well, it's more like, what do you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve it? And how are you going to achieve it? And if you know that to the granular detail, you can just reverse engineer every action that you take to be a vote for or against that person. And if you want to make 20 grand a month, you just like, hey, I need to make 3 offers today. I need to do X amount of dials today. So Casper is the one who taught me that, my former sales manager and mentor and current business partner. But what I was saying is we externalized it and we made it about somebody else, because sometimes we get into our own minds about whether we're worth it or whatever. And that's, again, another whole conversation. But I just said, hey, let's make it about somebody else then. Okay, we're going to go hard for John. Fill in the blank, whatever. So then you got back on it. And then that's when I asked you about, hey, you texted every single person, right? And you're like, well, I texted the ones that I think could buy. The ones that were good.
I was like, I texted the decent ones, the good ones.
And I was like, wait a minute. What? Did you text the decent ones? What does that mean? And you're like, well, the ones that could, bro. And the other ones, they're just like, they're not it. Like, no, they can't buy. And if I zoom out a little bit, Sean Ray reminded me one time when I tried to disqualify somebody. This was a couple years ago, but he was watching a sales call review from me, and I tried to disqualify somebody. I was like, yeah, I don't know if they can do it, or I don't know if they have the money. And he's like, you are not God, meaning like you are not the creator. You do not decide what they get to do, how they invest. And if you make a recommendation for them that they can succeed, don't take that opportunity away from them. And so I just try to remind you of that. Like, hey man, don't be picky and choosy. Send it to every person. And guess what? You send it to the rest of the leads that might not have bought or couldn't buy or wouldn't buy, shouldn't buy. And then 2 of them paid in full or whatever. And that's what actually took you across the line. And so that is an example of the belief that you held directly putting a ceiling on the actions you take, the outcomes that you perceive to be possible or likely, and then the outcome ultimately at the end of the day. Yeah. And so that's really what I want to get at in the sales space, is not about reframes and objection handling. I can do all that too, but that's not what it's about for me. It's about conviction. It's about erasing and deleting all of the limiting beliefs that you hold within yourself so that you can show up as a leader for the prospect and actually lead them to a better outcome and a better future. Again, ethically, if it actually makes sense for them, right? At the end of the day, I reminded you, hey, don't be choosy. Send it to everybody, and then you got a couple extra deals.
Yeah, that's what ended up pushing me over the line. Was I was like, nah, these guys, like they said no in the past. It was like a timing thing. Like they're like, I'm not ready to start till August, and I'm like, yeah, they're like, I'll talk to him later. I'm like, no, that's not, like, he just reminded me that's not what an A player would do. He would just send it to everyone because they've already said no. They can't say anything worse than no. Yeah. So it's like, that's it. And that's what ended up me pushing over the line. I broke the cash record. And then I got flown out to the Hermosi event in Vegas, which was like I made the bet with Nick. That's how I ended up meeting him. So
yeah, absolutely, man. And at the end of the day, it's like objections are simply beliefs, and no one can tell me any different unless they are literally broke and they don't have the money. Even then they could find the money, right? It's like if you had the
bank shut down, is the economy not working?
Yeah. It's like, are other people that are in the worst position just giving up because they can't get it either? Or how can we be resourceful, right? So it's like, if you had a $5,000 Ferrari outside, brand new, no strings attached, you'd find the money, right? You'd beg, borrow, and steal to get it. Or if you need a kidney transplant,
you'd figure it out.
You're going to find a way to get the kidney, right? Yeah. And so your offer has to be so good. And you have to be undeniable when reminding people of that. Because if someone says it's about the time, it's like, dude, man, you told me you want to achieve X, Y, Z, like time. And it's not even about how you handle the objection, but it's just about reminding them, asking for the business again multiple times. I think so many sales reps, they do the handles, but they won't ask for the business again. Yeah. Like, I was trained to ask for the business 3, 5, 7 times. Again, if it makes sense for them, if it actually will help them, and if you believe that to be true, ethically, then you can, it's not even push them, it's just nudge them along and get them closer to helping them make that decision. And so all these objections that are sitting in the CRM, like timing, fear, whatever, they're just beliefs. And we can change that because we know that we can help them achieve a better future. So you got the deals. Then on Saturday, now the last 2 days of the month were on a Saturday and a Sunday, right?
No, so it was Friday and Saturday was like the last day. And for context, like no one ever, at least in the past year and a half, has ever closed a deal on a Saturday on my offer. It literally has never happened in the past year and a half. Like, just deals don't get closed on Saturdays. We sell to financial advisors. So it's like,
sorry, we're closed. We don't take cash on Saturdays.
Well, literally, no, it just didn't happen. Like, they golf. They don't really want to take calls. Even Friday afternoons, they're out of the office by 3. It's just how it is.
Right.
So it's very, very difficult. Well, they are on the golf course. I'm still calling, but it's very difficult to close deals at that time. So I was like, that's when I texted him, like, dude, it's not going to happen. Like, there's no way. That's when he broke the belief for me.
Let me pause you right there. So what you just said, and I know that you're now in a better position and you've overcame this, but like people don't do deals on Friday because they're at the golf course. Belief. I could literally reframe that and say, thank God everybody else in the financial services space thinks that their clients are at the golf course and so they're not going to be calling. That means I'm going to show up twice as much and get twice the amount of deals. It's kind of like
mindset.
If you're doing door to door or you're doing like in person where you're going to people's houses, it's like, it's raining. I'm not going to go knock doors today. You could literally just flip that on its head and say, it's raining. That means, of course, I'm going to knock doors today because no one else is, and I'm going to win.
Yeah, it's the belief that serves you.
Always look for reframing the beliefs within yourself. Right. So, okay, Saturday, no one's there, but you hit it hard.
Yeah. So Saturday, fully not expecting anything. I'm like, dude, it's cooked. I burnt the stove, whatever I said. Reframe my belief. I'm like, don't limp the finish line, I think is what you said.
Never.
Like, sprint through the finish line. There's a half a mile left. You're running a marathon. Like, this is it. And I'm like, all right, screw it. I'll do whatever it takes.
The end of the month's coming anyways.
Right. So then all the people that I emailed, texted, I probably sent another like 80 voice notes, like literally from my personal phone, just like boom, boom, boom. And I'm with my friends and they're like, Evan, what are you doing? And I'm like, guys, I can't talk right now. And I'm just like pumping out voice notes. We're just like hanging out at my house. I'm just like in the other room, like pumping voice notes. And then,
hey, John, I got some awesome
literally,
for you, John.
And I got 3 of the people I could tell by when I talked to them, they're like, dude, this is way, I don't say better treatment. I've never had a sales rep like treat me like this. Like I've never had people like have this much conviction. Like one of the guys literally was like, Evan, I don't even really want to sign up, but you are like one of the best sales reps I've ever spoken with, so I'm going to do it for you.
Why do you think he said that?
Because of the actions that I took and the conviction I spoke with.
But inside of that, like maybe I guess the right question would be, what do you think is missing? Obviously the word is conviction, right? But like, isn't it crazy how just by showing up and being a little bit more undeniable and having a little bit more conviction, he literally said, I don't want to sign up, but I'm going to anyways.
He literally was like, dude, I don't really want to do this. I'm doing it for you, man, is literally what he said to me. And I'm like, wow. And it's going back to that is like so just to recap the story, on that Saturday, ended up closing 3 deals. 2 of them were PIFs. One of them was like a split baby deal, whatever, just to get him across the line. But that's what ended up breaking the cash record, and I got to go meet Hermosi and the whole team in Vegas. And on that, I got to meet Jacob Hopkins, who's the director of sales. Baller.
Awesome.
Insanely smart guy. Shout out to you. But I got to talk to him, and I asked him questions like, how do you go from not just being a top sales rep to like actually becoming a manager and like moving up? And this goes for anything. And this goes back to what you just said, is be so undeniable that everyone around you can't not notice. They have to notice. There's no other choice. And it's like, you have to keep your production so much higher than everyone else and raise the level of other projects, things that you're doing at the same time. Yeah. And it's like, you don't have to go from rep to manager. It can be for anyone just going from a B player to an A player. It's like, you just have to become so undeniable that it would be unreasonable that people don't notice you, that people don't notice what you're doing and the inputs that you're putting in.
I think leadership has very little to do with telling people what to do, and it has everything to do with being the example that they follow. And again, Dickie coached me on this for like a year, I think, when I was starting to want to move into leadership. I was like, what is leadership? Like, I do it practically, but like, let's define it, you know? And I'm not going to give a whole lesson on that, but it's really about leading by example and owning all of your responsibilities and then showing up so far ahead that you have space to push the other folks along, or, you know, rise the tide and raise all the ships around you, right? And it's just like, if you're just magnetic and you just elevate the room and you just send it into the sky.
Magnetic, I like that.
There's no way that they can deny you, right? And in the book Relentless, like Tim Grover talks about coolers, closers, and cleaners. Have you read the book? You've got to read the book. No. Anybody who wants to become a dog in sales, or you already are a dog and you just want to throw some gasoline on the fire, like, go read that book. It talks about cleaners. And like, there's a difference between closers, and he uses that word, and cleaners. And he's not talking about sales. He's talking about basketball or whatever. And you just have to be a cleaner, man. You just have to sweep the floor. Yeah. You just have to clean up, man. Like, I saw this sales meme that was like, an A player, like an A- player, closes the deals and he can get away with not keeping his CRM up to date. An A player closes the deals and he kind of does it, you know, and he's just like, he has most of it organized. But an A+ player, he prints cash. His pipeline is pristine at every single moment. He knows exactly where his next deal is coming from, and he can tell you every conversation that he had that week on command, on demand.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's levels to this stuff, man. And like you asked Jacob, like becoming an A+ player, like if you have that X factor, I don't think everybody can become an A+ player, but I do think it can be developed.
For sure.
And I think it's more about being coachable and being willing to challenge your own beliefs. Yeah. And that's what Gavin was talking about yesterday at the conference, is like challenge your own beliefs. Like when's the last time we actually sat down with ourselves and closed ourselves on where we're trying to go, right? Because in terms of congruency, like you have to be able to show up for your prospects. And that's exactly what you did. You showed up for that person so much that they literally couldn't believe it. And they're like, yeah, man, here's my credit card. Like, I don't know. I don't even want this. Just like here. Yeah. I trust, it's like underneath that, it's like he knew that because of your conviction, your interest in getting the deal done was so high that it raised his to just high enough.
Yeah.
Right. And do you have anything to add on that?
No. I was just going to say almost like it's just an energy game. It's like the same way that when I met you, like your energy was so high up here. I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is. Like, why is he trying to sell me on a marathon? Like he's now coaching me, like whatever. I'm like his energy was so much more elevated than mine was that I didn't have a choice but to follow it. Like, that's why I like the word you said, like magnetic, of like, I could tell that you did exactly what you were saying. Like this wasn't like a made up thing. Like your energy was so high and you were so convicted that it would work. It's like, dude, I don't have a choice. Like, of course I'm going to do everything you tell me to.
Yeah, it's like a gravitational pull.
Yeah, bro. And if you had the same way with me, and that transferred from me to my clients, transferred from me to my prospects.
Man. I got so many thoughts. Yeah. Okay. Transfer. That's a great word to dive in on, because sales is literally a transfer of confidence, right? And you could define sales in a bunch of different ways, but one of the best ways to define it is that it's a transfer of confidence, right? It's also change management, right? Where someone needs to make a change. It's a complex decision to make, and the reason that sales reps exist is because it's a difficult decision. Everybody has this bad rap on sales reps, and I don't blame them at all, in fact. But what I want to do for the industry and for the space is just remind people that sales is service. When you go buy a car, you have a bunch of questions. You don't really know what's going on. You don't want to spend 25 hours, 30 hours researching, the different things. You want to go and find someone who is an expert and then ask them and then have them guide you through that decision, right? Yeah. Or else it just wouldn't exist. And I think that if you take the service, conviction-based mindset, another one is service-based mindset.
Yeah.
And you just literally show up for the person and become so undeniable. Like the best sales reps are Jehovah's Witnesses, right? Like they don't have any, I think you said that yesterday, right?
Yeah. I was like, dude, they don't have any sales, like maybe they do now, but like they don't have any sales training yet. They are converting. I don't know how many conversions a day they go for.
Their close rate is so high.
Their close rate's 80%. Like they.
And
if
it's not, they just take so many calls.
It's crazy, and it's like, yeah, they don't have any sales. I mean, Hermosi talks about it. They don't have any sales training, but yet they're so convicted. It's like people don't have a choice but to not at least seriously consider what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. And just like going back to the car thing, like the service, like I feel like in the sales space we've almost gone so far like around the loop, because if you think about it, like the whole Andy Elliott thing, like that's his thing. Like I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's like, I'm here to serve you at the highest level. I'm here to show up for you. I'm here to get you a water, tea. No, I'm good. No, I'm going to get you water, bro. That's not a question. Yeah. And it's like that part, I think so many people have gotten away from because they want to go the whole so far laid back, the whole so far like of the high ticket.
Laptop lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think like
Jedi closer.
I think there's value in both, but I think we've gone so far away from that side that people have lost that. People feel like they're literally just like questioning them into a sale, opposed to like genuinely caring about what the outcome is in 5 years.
Yeah. And if you were to go watch my 3,000 calls, like you're not going to see the craziest reframes. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got it, but like
he's got in his bag.
It's more like I just stomp them with belief. That's the way I think about it. It's like, look, man, I'm not giving up on you. We're going to sit here all day long. I refuse to fail you. So how are we going to make this work? What needs to happen for you to help me help you take that next step, right? And so obviously if you're not selling a coaching program, it's a little bit different. And by the way, coaching programs have changed my life. I've invested probably $80,000 into coaching at this point, and I look forward to investing a lot more. But if you're selling a life-changing coaching program or a done-for-you service or a done-with-you service that can actually move the needle for these people much more than if they were to stay the same and then just 6 months go by, you have a moral obligation to close that person. It's not even a question. Like if you're showing up with people that are actually interested in what you're selling, they're you can actually solve their problem and you fundamentally understand what's going on for them, you have an obligation to show up and help them make that decision. And so that's the way I treat it. And a lot of sales reps, they get into this like $50K a month closer thing, and that's fine, right? Like make money, but don't forget the reason that you're going to make 20, 30, 40, 50K a month, or 10K a month for that matter, which by the way is not small. And if you're making 10 grand a month, like congratulations, because you're doing well. And if you're young, you're doing really well.
As I say, most sales reps do not make that. Most sales reps suck. Most sales reps are really bad. Like they don't make that.
Right. And I would say to add on to that, like to summarize, it's like people care about their commissions, which is perfectly reasonable. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I am in this space, and so is everybody else. But it's a direct reflection on how many lives you can positively impact by helping them enroll into your product or service. And so don't forget that you put the person first and you show up as a selfless servant. Like you're literally a server. Like I was a server before I got into high ticket sales, and I was serving people. I was helping them figure out what they wanted to eat. And then I was giving them a recommendation on a bottle of wine or whatever. And it's like, I can enhance their experience so much that they're willing to pay me for it, right? And that's the same thing we're doing in sales. So many people get away from the fact that we're servants, and I embody that, and I love it. That's what gets me out of bed every morning. I love serving people. For everybody who's watching, like, don't move away from the fact that you have a chance to change people's lives. If you put that first, then of course you're gonna make money. It's just a byproduct, right?
It also becomes like a positive feedback loop, because like you start enrolling people and you're like, I'm not just making commission anymore. I'm like genuinely helping. And it's like, it's not that you didn't know that before. It kind of just opens your eyes to like, I'm genuinely doing this for not only the right reasons, but for the right people. And this is going to change your life. So it's like you close one person, obviously the best time to close a deal is after another deal, but it's like, you're not closing them for another commission. You're not closing them for the double kill commission or the bonus. You're closing them because I know like I can just get another person and I'm going to help. Like they're going to be a client for 5 years.
Instead of saying how many deals can I close, is how many lives can I change?
Yeah, there you go.
You know, and like that's the methodology that I want to present to the industry in the space, which is conviction-based closing.
Yeah.
And another thing that Taylor Welsh actually told me that kind of blew my mind was that sales is a sorting mechanism for the deserving and the undeserving.
Explain that.
I'll take a shot at it. So whenever we get on a call with somebody, let's say you're getting on a call with 10 people. 2 of them are never going to buy anything from anyone, and they're tire kickers, right? And they're not interested. They're just like, for some reason, they actually just book calls with people, and they're just weird. And, you know, maybe they just aren't far enough along.
On that pyramid, yeah.
The other 2 out of 10 are going to, on the other side of the spectrum, are going to buy anything from anyone. Lay downs, they're just like, hey, yeah, like I'm ready to go. But those 6 out of 10 in the middle of those 2 on each side are the ones that could and should make a decision and would make a decision, but it depends on your skill set and how much you're willing to show up and help them and how much you're leading them on that call. And so that's where we get to sort people into a bucket of, did they actually change, and did we get them closer to the goal? And of course they have to do the thing and they have to do the work and take ownership of their side. It's a 2-way street, right? Mm-hmm. But some of them aren't going to do it, and that's okay. You can't win every sale and you can't change every life. But I want to fundamentally remind myself every single day that if I don't show up correct, that person might be in a worse off place. And here's a crazy thing. The people in May that you enrolled at the end of the month, had we not done this exercise and actually went above and beyond, they would still be in the same position.
They'd be in the exact same.
And then
they'd be in my pipelines where they'd be.
And guess what? You're going to email them in 6 months and be like, hey man, what changed? Yeah. Nothing. And then the whole, what happens in 6 months if nothing changes? Guess what? Hey, it's been 6 months, brother. Did you get those leads figured out? No. And so I take ownership of the fact that it's my responsibility to help you overcome that, because it's not apparent to me that it just makes sense. And so that's our job to help them make that decision.
So I'm curious, how did you go, because I know you had a big background, how did you go not just into the high ticket space, but kind of create this, I don't want to say unorthodox way, because it feels like it should be the right way, but like this kind of slightly different way of selling, going about it. Give you the context for the people.
Okay, where should I begin? I'll go really upstream. So I come from fairly humble beginnings. You know, I'm not going to sit here and tell my, sob story or whatever, but like I grew up, my parents were on welfare. I was at a young age presented with the fact that, if you're going to want to achieve like financial success, you're going to have to take this into your own hands. And you're 13 years old. So it's like at a young age, I was like, okay, cool. Like bet I'm gonna have to figure out something. Fast forward, I move out of my hometown. I, move out as soon as I was 17, and I moved out of my parents' house. moved to Wilmington. I'm from Hickory, North Carolina. Moved to Wilmington, got out of my hometown, went to school, got a degree in finance. Didn't want to do that. Then I got into construction sales. My two buddies started a construction company in Tennessee. I went over there, and they're like, yo, you would crush it in sales. I'm like, bet. Before that, I was just waiting tables and, goofing off. And so the unorthodox methodology came when I broke into the high-ticket space. I sold a couple $1,000,000 in revenue in construction, and then I wanted to get into the remote space, and I didn't even really know what it was. I didn't know it was high-ticket sales or whatever. My friend was like, hey, we're selling this Amazon coaching program that helps people start an e-commerce business. I was like, perfect. And so I wandered in, and the reason that I jumped from the construction business to high-ticket, and I had a pathway to, have an equity stake in the company, and it was going to be 3 of us, 3-way founder, partnership, whatever. But we were all just kind of on the same skill set level and the same mindset. And I was like, man, we are making expensive mistakes. I need to go and seek out mentorship that will allow me to pull the future forward and just learn from someone else's mistakes and just avoid these gigantic potholes that I keep putting my foot in. And while that was all going on, I was like, probably when it was 2021, I decided like something's got to give. And I wasn't where I wanted to be. And I really just looked at my life and I was like, man, I am not pacing. I'm not on pace to hit my projections, right? And I started, I read the book, The Compound Effect, and that changed my life and changed the way that I thought. And I started just doing YouTube University. And he was like the type of person that listens to music in the car versus they listen to Tony Robbins tapes on their commute.
Hormozy while you're in the gym.
Hormozy while you're in the gym, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I started doing that. I started really just like brainwashing myself and undoing all my beliefs. And I remember I stumbled upon this guy. His name is Soluminati, and he talked about like third eye and like he like went vegan and like basically like went out and like went to like self-awareness or whatever. But he had this video and he basically said, you should question everything. You should question everything. You should open up your third eye, the matrix or whatever. And I was probably like 19. I was like, what the heck? Like what is this third eye matrix? And I just started telling all my friends like, dude, this is all fake. Like this is all made up. Like we're set up to fail. Like you should question everything. So I started questioning everything, including my own beliefs. And so I started doing all this personal development. I was listening to YouTube and Jordan Peterson and Patrick Bet-David and all this stuff. And then I didn't really have a practical way of applying what I was learning. And I kept becoming frustrated by that because I started to recognize that I was in this knowledge action gap where I was like, I knew better, but I didn't do better because I didn't have a vehicle to do so. And so my friend came along, his name is Logan, and he lost like 100 pounds in a year, like total like David Goggins story, and signed up for a marathon in February of 2022. And I was like, dude, how can I support you? I think it's so awesome. And I was also kind of hitting my stride on my like personal development journey. And he was like, well, I don't know, man, you can come out to the race. And I was like, what if I just sign up for it? And he was like, dude, the race is in 3 weeks. Like, you can't just sign up for a marathon. I was like, of course I can. And I'm going to. And so I signed up on the call with him. And I closed myself on running a marathon in 3 weeks with no training. And I started running like 3-5 miles a day. And I remember I was at Planet Fitness on like an 11-minute mile pace, just like watching the TV and like just like jogging, like listening to the book, The Alchemist. Blew my mind, hero's journey story, etc. And I ran a marathon in February 2022, 5 hours flat, no training. Well, virtually no training, 2 weeks of training. And then we got roped into this community of people that do these 100-mile races, which my buddy Logan was already kind of privy to. Like he understood it and he studied like David Goggins and things like that. And I had kind of known about it, but I didn't really like know what was going on.
Deep into it.
So we signed up for a 100-mile race the same day that we ran the marathon. The same night we signed up for a 100-mile race 2 months later. And so from mid-January, never ran more than 3 miles in my whole life, to running a marathon in 3 weeks, and then eventually running 100 miles in April of 2022. And then that's when everything shifted, because I had a vehicle to apply the personal development YouTube videos that I was learning and watching and consuming. And I had a practical way to demonstrate the fact that you can go a lot further than you currently think if you're willing to put one foot in front of the other. And it just became this like marathon mindset thing. So April, we ran 100 miles. We ran another in April, May, July, October, and then we ran 100 miles on Christmas. No trophies, no medals, no reason. Just can we go out and run 100 miles for fun, basically. So 2022 is really when I decided to develop this, I developed this unorthodox mindset and thinking, and it caught fire in my hometown, and I developed this like, not a following, but like this kind of like movement, and people were running miles and like screenshotting and be like, Tristan, get those miles in or win the day or whatever.
That's
and I had all these like phrases like win the day, gratitude is the attitude, get your miles in, whatever. And I just started pushing that out into the world. And then people enjoyed it. And they were giving me a lot of feedback like, hey man, this really helped me. You're the reason that I woke up this morning and ran. And I was like, what is going on? And then this guy messaged me and he was like, hey man, you know, I want you to know that I decided to pick my life up and I started running and I lost 30 pounds and I signed up for college, blah, 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 blah. And like from my hometown in Hickory, like it's not the worst place in the world. It's a great place to settle and retire, but the environment that I was in specifically, there was a lot of death, violence, drugs, guns. People are not going anywhere. And a lot of my friends are unfortunately no longer with me. So long story short, 2022 is when I started running these crazy 100-mile races, inspiring everybody. And basically I would negotiate with myself. We're going to cross the finish line or literally die trying. And that was the mindset. And that's where it was born. And then I was bouncing around in the sales space, construction to new offers. And then in 2023, I kind of fell down the rabbit hole of offer hopping and just like not getting the right mentorship. And, you know, I found out that these people weren't delivering on the promises that they were making. And so here's where the conviction part comes in. So January, February, March, 2023, I was losing conviction. The offer that I was on, they weren't delivering for their clients. And I was like, this is stupid, man. Like I'm out. Like I don't want any part of this at all. I'm not going to represent something I don't believe in. If I wouldn't buy it myself or sell it to my mom, I'm not going to sell it. That's the rule. And
it's a great rule, by the way.
I didn't have the conviction, right?
Yeah.
And so then I probably DM'd like 100 creators. And I was like, hey man, how can I demonstrate value? I see you have a high ticket program. Like I'll be your number one closer. If you give me a chance, I will rise to the ranks. Like there's no question about it. You put me beside anybody, I'll run them in the ground. And I had that mindset from the running and the or die mindset or whatever. And then Dickie responds to me on Instagram. I DM him at like 3 a.m. And I'm just watching this YouTube video and I'm sitting there, I'm kind of sulking a little bit. And I'm like, gosh, like how did I become so naive? I fell into the remote space and it didn't work out for me. And I kind of fell flat on my face, but I didn't give up because or die mindset. Yeah. I get on that offer. And then I told him, I said, hey man, you're going to have to demonstrate to me that we're getting these clients results. I'm going to have to see it every day, all day. You're going to have to remind me of it and convince me that we're delivering on our promises. And he said, perfect. That fits the bill for what I'm looking for. And so that's where I became like this, you know, conviction-based closer. And I didn't have the rest reframed. I didn't have any formal training, none of it.
But you had the opportunity to have that conviction.
Yeah. Then I got into another vehicle in sales, which was PGA for me, the Ghost Running Academy, and Dickie and Cole. And that's where I had such a contrast between what else was going on in the high ticket space. And then I got on that offer and I was like, oh, finally. Yeah. A players delivering. And then you couldn't tell me shit, dude. Yeah. Like I basically would just run these people over with conviction because I believed in the program so much. And I knew how confident I was that if they invested money with us, that it was going to deliver for them. And so then over the next 2 years, the conviction-based mindset, I had another vehicle to demonstrate the personal development. And that's where I hit my first 10, 15, 20, 25, 30K a month, whatever. And then I just sent it. And I had a playground to test and break all these limiting beliefs. And by the way, I credit Dickie a lot to just meeting with me once a week for 2 years, and he had to rewire my brain. And that's why having a coach and a mentor is so important. So big thing there, unorthodox mindset got born in the marathon thing and then transferred into sales. Mm-hmm. And that's basically how I live my life. I just want to help. And my Instagram bio for the longest time was breaker of limiting belief systems or something like that. Sure. And that's really what I want to embody. Beliefs. Limitless beliefs now, right? So that's the long story long.
Dude, that's awesome. That's great.
And I guess, what do you think after kind of working with me for a little bit and just being around me, like what are some of the things that you've taken away to apply to yourself that you would also give to the audience that would help them?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, you said it a lot better, but it's like you just have the opportunity to do so much more than you actually think. Like everyone puts the cap on themselves of what they believe they can do. And like at the end of the day, it's a fake cap. Do you think David Goggins woke up when he was like 10 and all of a sudden he's going to run 100 miles? No, he eventually was able to remove that ceiling, that cap. LeBron James didn't wake up one day and was, I'm going to be the best basketball player. He eventually was able to remove that cap in his mind. Like it's all a belief. It's all a mindset of like, you're at 30K a month now, you want to get to 100. Like that's obviously like the next step, but it's like, I have to remove that cap for me. Like I have to remove that ceiling. And then you're at 100, you want to get to whatever the number is. It's like, it's all about removing the caps. And I can go to any area. Obviously money is just how you keep the score, but it's like, if you remove those caps in your mind, just like the running thing, it's like, I've never ran a marathon.
You will though.
But I will.
Of course.
But it's like, I have to remove that cap and you're helping me remove that cap. Sure. So it's like, maybe that's not the right word, but I would say 100% the biggest thing is just the removing the limiting beliefs of what is possible and then actually holding you accountable to do what you need to do. Like, I know for me, there's so many times over the past 3 years where I felt like I was working hard. I felt like I was doing the right things. And not that I wasn't doing things, but it's like looking back, I just realized how much more could have actually been done.
That's it, man. And I think that's where we can kind of like close on that note, which is for anybody who's watching this. And by the way, it's not all about the money. The money will work out if you just take care of the daily actions. I swear to God. And put God first. That's first everything. And we didn't really touch on that, which I wish we
should have. Yeah.
Put God first. Okay? That's it.
Amen.
Money's cool. God is cooler.
Sell yourself for the whole world.
Do that, and ultimately, you will bring everything to life. So for those who want to get some help, we can help you run a marathon. We can help you close more deals. Just find someone to challenge your limiting beliefs and do that for yourself, and then just see what you can do, man. Squeeze more out of life. Like, we only live once. You're young. Rip it right now. And you can go a lot further than you think. Dude, man.
Oh.
Pleasure,
doing
bro.
it. Go follow him on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. Drop it below.
Absolutely, man.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Tune in. Stay tuned. We'll be ripping it.